Hi people, it's Sarkavist here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Over the past 3 weeks, I've been playing some Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links in the background, and I've actually really enjoyed making this deck. I was a big fan back in the day of the trio of iconic monsters, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician, and also Red Eyes Black Dragon. And the thing about Red Eyes Black Dragon was it's a bit of an underdog, a lot like Joey, the iconic character associated, and I thought that would be the most fun to build a deck around. So in this video, I'm going to go through the deck that I've got for Red Eyes Black Dragon, and also show you a couple of online games just to, I don't know, show off its viability. It's not ultra competitive, you could probably optimize this a fair bit. And there are some cards I'd put into this if I had them, but I'm finding this is working for me, and it's actually a very fun deck to play. So let's go through this. I'm calling this deck Red Darkness, and that's for the head card Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. Not quite as powerful as the counterpart Blue Eyes Shining, but at the same time a hell of a lot easier to get out. You just need to tribute one Red Eyes Black Dragon, and this will gain 300 attack for every dragon in your graveyard. This can be quite useful in the late game, as you'll typically have a lot of dragons in the graveyard, not just through battle but also through sending them there yourself. And it can be useful because a theme in this deck is that a lot of the cards don't have very high attack, so having this gives you a little bit of a way to hit over enemies, but without breaking the theme of Red Eyes Black Dragon, I guess. Then we have Gearfried, the Red Eyes Iron Knight, a competently statted 4-star monster, but the reason he's here mainly is for Red Eyes / Dragon. We have Red Eyes Wyvern, another decent stat monster with quite a good graveyard effect. If you don't commit to a normal summon in a turn, you can bring back a Red Eyes from your graveyard. It's a bit situational in those times where you just go for a turn and you have nothing to summon, but it's nice to have it there. And it's also good because when you do need to send a monster to the graveyard, it's a natural choice. Then one of my favourite cards in the deck, and I would absolutely have 3 of these if I owned 3 of these, Black Metal Dragon, which is a bit like, it's essentially an equip spell in the form of a monster. You can play it as a monster and you'll still get the effect if it's destroyed, where you can bring a Red Eyes card to your hand, and that's essentially any Red Eyes card, so you can search out pretty much the whole deck with that. But when you attach it to a Red Eyes monster, it gains 600 attack, which is very useful when a lot of the cards' greatest weakness is that their attack isn't that great. So Black Metal Dragon is great for that. The only downside, I think, is because it's not itself a Red Eyes card, it's not searchable. So that's why I think having 3 of those, if you can get it, is ideal. But I'm only at 2, but I'm putting a lot of my gems at the moment into trying to get the 3rd one. Then we have the highest based attack in this whole deck, well, at least in the normal deck, I should say, and that's Red Eyes Fiend of Lightning. It's a Gemini monster, which means that in order to access its effect, you need to normal summon it again after it's already been summoned, which sounds like a hassle, but it's got a really awesome effect where if a monster has a lower defense stat than this monster's attack stat, it will instantly destroy it. So you can wipe out all of the monsters on your enemy's field potentially if all of their defense is lower than this monster's attack. And the great thing is it can still attack that turn. So you can really get to enemies' life points quite easily if they have a bunch of low defense monsters that are, face up. You've also got Red Eyes Retro Dragon. This is great for resurrecting a Red Eyes card if it's destroyed in battle. Essentially, if a Red Eyes is sent to the graveyard or multiple Red Eyes is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand in defense position and it will bring back the other Red Eyes. It's very surprising to opponents when this happens because it's a hand trap. It's not like it's a trap card or anything, but it can be quite devastating. It has got a secondary effect where you contribute it and then get an additional normal summon. I find that this can be useful with Red Eyes Fiend of Lightning because then you can get its Gemini normal summon and then activate its effect. Red Eyes Baby Dragon, not the best card in the deck, but it does have the ability when it's destroyed to attach itself to a Red Eyes monster. So you can basically use it to search a Red Eyes, attach it to it when it's been destroyed, and then you give it 300 extra attack. Funnily enough, I found this is most useful to crash into enemies, where if I'm facing, let's say, a Dark Magician with 2,500 attack, I can throw this into it, it will destroy it, and you do lose a fair bit of life points, but then you can instantly bring in a RedEyes and get the 300 extra attack, and you'll be able to hit over it. It's surprising how often I need to do that, and RedEyes Baby Dragon is quite useful, but I'm definitely going to keep it a one-off because it's not the most powerful card in the deck. Then we have 3 of the Black Stoner Legend. It's very useful. You can tribute it instantly to bring out a RedEyes card. So that's going to be RedEyes Black Dragon or Fiend. Pretty good card. I am debating whether or not it should be a 2-of rather than a 3-of. But honestly, every time this is in my hand, I'm happy. So I'm kind of tempted to keep it as a 3-of. Then at the core of the deck, the RedEyes Black Dragon. In its own right, an absolutely awful card, right? It's a 7-star monster that requires 2 tributes and only 2,400 attack and 2,000 defense, no effect, and really kind of bland text. So it really is about how this synergizes with the rest of the deck. And of course, crucially, it is an ultra iconic monster for Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the most famous monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! If I had as many, I'd definitely have 3 of this artwork, though, because I'm nostalgic, I would love to have the original. Though, when I was younger, I did actually own this one from the RedEyes Darkness structure deck, but this is the one from the anime, and it's the one I remember. So, absolutely 3 RedEyes Black Dragon. I'm pretty confident in that selection, at least. RedEyes Fusion, a beautiful card. So you can use this to fuse together RedEyes monsters from not your hand and your field, not just your hand and your field, but also your deck. So if you draw this, you're quite confident you can bring out a RedEyes monster as long as you haven't ended up with one of the materials in your graveyard. It's one of the staples of this deck. A lot of people use it and a lot of people fear it. I've genuinely had people quit sometimes when they see me play this. Like, they know what's coming. It's going to be something devastating. I guess the only downside is you can't then normal summon a monster afterwards, so that's its downside from regular polymerization. RedEyes Insight. This is a great searcher card where you have to discard a RedEyes monster either from your hand or from your deck. And then you can bring a spell or trap card, a RedEyes spell or trap card to your hand, which is great for both reasons, really. Like, sending to the graveyard is great because it feeds RedEyes Darkness Dragon. It also means you can resurrect what you send there, or if it's a RedEyes Wyvern, you get that effect. So it's both great in that you have to send the card to the graveyard and that you get access to RedEyes Fusion or the cards we're about to talk about now. RedEyes Spirit, simple trap card that brings back a RedEyes monster, is pretty useful. It does what it says in the tin, and it can scare people who aren't expecting it. Pretty useful. But then, potentially more devastating, if you've got the right setup, is Return of the RedEyes, where it's a continuous trap, and when you activate it, as long as you control a RedEyes, you can keep bringing back, let me just double check, normal RedEyes monsters in your graveyard. Oh no, it's not even RedEyes, apologies. Yeah, you can target one normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Yes, because I've used this too on Summon the Skull before. So it requires a RedEyes for it to work, but then you can actually bring back a normal monster of your choosing. So quite flexible, but naturally in this deck you're going to use it to bring back RedEyes Black Dragon or RedEyes Archfiend of Lightning, because while it's in the graveyard, it counts as a normal monster, so you can actually bring that back as well. And also as a bonus, if they actually do destroy this card, you can then bring back a RedEyes monster from your graveyard. So even if they blow this up, it's still quite a handy card. And then we'll get on to the extra deck. Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, devastating, but quite specific because in order to summon this in this particular deck, you need to have a RedEyes Archfiend of Lightning on the field, and it can't have had its normal summon to turn it into a Gemini effect monster. It has to remain in its normal form to meet the summoning conditions. But when you get it out, it's got pretty decent attack at 3,200. It also, and this is probably its most powerful effect, when it goes to attack, your enemy can't activate any effects, so you don't have to worry about trap cards or anything like that when it's actually attacking. And then also as a final blow, when you end the battle phase, you can take a RedEyes from your graveyard, return it to your deck, and then half of its attack are inflicted as life point damage, which is fantastic in Duel Links when you've got 4,000 at base. 1,200 from a RedEyes Black Dragon is actually pretty good, especially if you hit their life points already. I mean, if you can hit life points directly with this, and then activate this effect, it's essentially a 1-turn kill on that, so that's pretty useful. The only downside again is that it's quite specific to bring out because you need to have RedEyes Archfiend of Lightning on the field, unless you choose to put like a Summoned Skull in this deck. And then I'd say this is the single most reliable card in the deck, RedEyes Dragon. You need a RedEyes Black Dragon and a warrior monster, which in this case is Gearfried, the RedEyes Iron Knight. It has 2,800 attack, 2,400 defense, and when it goes to attack, or if I think it's any RedEyes monster goes to attack, you can bring back the warrior monster, attach it to this card as if it was a spell equip, and then it gets 200 extra attack. And it's also got a benefit where if a card effect targets one of your monsters that you control, you can destroy the equipped spell or just equipped monster, and then you can negate the effect. And it's not just dependent on the warrior that you brought forth. If you attach a black metal dragon to it as well, you can actually destroy that in order to negate the spell, and then also get the benefit of black metal dragon being able to search. So there's great synergy with the deck. And then, like, as a final hurrah, when it's destroyed, you can bring back one of the warriors that was used to summon it, which is, I guess it's not as useful in this particular deck because Gearfriend is amazing, but I've seen some really crazy plays with Buster Blader, bringing back Buster Blader in this deck when you've got all the dragons in the graveyard. He has insane attack. And then finally, what I would describe as the secret weapon of this deck, and also I think the only card that really isn't RedEyes Fiend but really fits with this deck, is Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation. It's an Xyz monster, and you just need 2 level 7 monsters, so naturally 2 RedEyes Black Dragons are perfect, but you can use 3 if you want. And really, the best thing about this card is you can detach one of your materials and then destroy any card on the field, on the enemy side. Well, I think it is. You can detach one material, then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. But you do need to banish a card in your graveyard as well as detaching the material. But often by this point you've got some spell or traps in your graveyard, and these are often fine to banish. It doesn't really make a difference in this deck, so it's not too much of an issue. And I say secret weapon because, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, the weakness of this deck, unfortunately, would be the overall attack. Like, RedEyes Darkness requires quite a specific situation to get higher attack. Black Metal Dragon can help, but there are obviously some very high attack monsters you might go up against, and the ability to just detach an Xyz material and destroy it instantly can be a lifesaver, and one of the jewels we might see in this will show why that is. So that's the deck, but now let's see it in action. So in this first game, we're going up against a Cyberdark and Blue Eyes deck. My first move was to activate RedEyes Insight and send RedEyes Wyvern to my graveyard so I can use it later. And I also get to bring RedEyes Fusion to my hand, but I don't play it on the first turn. I didn't want my RedEyes Dragon to be vulnerable without its Gearfried, the RedEyes Iron Knight, attached to it. So I just went for the safe play here. But the thing is, he brings up Cyber Dark Edge, and he's able to attack my life points directly anyway. So it wouldn't have really mattered what I did on that first turn. So we take the hit, but this is why it's good to have the bonus of extra 1,000 life points. In fact, I think that literally is what saves me in this duel, because I fall below 1,000 life points. So then we have RedEyes Dragon coming out, as I say, one of the most reliable cards in this deck. Good damage, so I can take out his monster. I even attach Gearfried to it, so he's got 3,000 attack now, and also has the ability to negate effects if they're targeting one of my monsters. Would be nice if I could just negate effects in general, as he's using some searches here. So now he starts to fill up his field a bit, and it gets a little bit scary. Fusion summons, and Cyberdark Dragon can then equip a monster in his graveyard, and unfortunately he chooses Blue Eyes White Dragon, giving it a huge amount of attack, and gets a little bit scary because, as I mentioned, one of the weaknesses of this deck is that you can have a bit of a cap on attack points. However, I do have my secret weapon in the Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation. So as I started seeing this on the field, I was like, well, there's only really one way I can defeat him now, and it's to get out Dark Armed Dragon. So the important thing is to keep my defense up for as long as I can and get 2 RedEyes Black Dragons on the field. That is, at this moment in time, the main goal. So I can put up my defense with Dragon's ability to resurrect the warrior, but he's only there to defend. So my baby dragon goes down, but then that's one perfect situation where I can use it to bring out a RedEyes Black Dragon, and we of course get the excellent animation here. Actually, I think this is one of the older ones, but still pretty nice looking. So then we've got RedEyes Black Dragon number 1 with a bit of extra attack, but that won't be too helpful here. And then we use the Black Stone of Legend and instantly tribute it to get our second RedEyes Black Dragon. So we now have 2 7-star monsters on the field, which means that we can XC summon Dark Armed the Dragon of Annihilation, the secret weapon of the deck, which means we can now detach our XC's materials and banish a card from our graveyard and wipe out their field. Unfortunately though, disadvantage is I can't attack the turn I do that. So at this point, he doesn't really know what to do because I've got a high attack point monster on the field and he hasn't really got an answer for it, to be honest. And I can now use Return of the RedEyes to bring back more monsters to fighting with. That said, this is where it's good that I had the 1000 life point boost because he can still attack my life points directly. Seem to get a lot of that online recently, but it's not enough to wipe me out. So the main thing at this stage is like we need to kill him quickly before he can keep attacking my life points directly. So we destroy his monster, well, his attached monster once again. Like so. RedEyes Wyvern to bring back RedEyes Dragon, so that's why it was useful to put it there in the graveyard. And because we now have RedEyes Dragon, we have a RedEyes monster on the field, which means that Return of the RedEyes can now activate and we can bring back more RedEyes monsters from our graveyard during our turn or the opponent's turn. So it's good for stacking up defenses or just getting summons ready, because if I bring forward RedEyes Fiend of Lightning, it means that on my turn I can then commit the normal summon and get its Gemini effect, which is what I choose to do. So normal summon, Gemini effect, instantly destroy the monster. Go to attack his face down, attach for negating effects in the future, attack life points directly. He's down to a mere 200 now. And I think at this point he knows he's probably screwed, but he goes for like a last ditch effort. And this is the thing where if I hadn't had the 1000 point boost, that would have actually done me in and I would have been pretty angry, but luckily I had the boost. So bring it back. But I think at this point he's like, okay, I've got no cards in my hand. I'll draw 1 card and what can I do for that? And that is the victory for this game. So going into the second game, we're facing a pendulum based deck. And the thing about a pendulum deck is if you destroy a pendulum monster, rather than going to the graveyard, it of course goes to the extra deck. And something it took me a moment to realise later on in the duel is that it's not really worth getting tiny life point advantages by destroying these monsters if they're just going to come back. So once again, as we'll see later on, the secret weapon of the deck is what saves the day here. So first of all, pretty bland opening, nothing to be too concerned about. And I decide to go straight in this time with RedEyes Fusion. We're not doing anything beating about the bush here. We're going straight in with the big guns, the most reliable monster in the deck, RedEyes Dragon. It's so easy to get out, the fact that RedEyes Fusion can search the deck. It can get from the hand or the field. So really, as long as you pull that card and none of the materials are dead, then it's very easy to summon out. So we go to attack, but then, oh no, it's Mirror Wall, which cuts the attack of my RedEyes Dragon in half, unfortunately, and now it's just a sitting duck. But in order to sustain it, he has to hold on and pay 2,000 life points in his standby phase, which ultimately makes him quite vulnerable, thankfully. And I use Return of the RedEyes because my RedEyes Dragon is on the field to bring back RedEyes Black Dragon. Oh, and it's my favourite version of the card as well, which is great. That is my favourite animation. So bringing him out, a little bit more power on the field now, but it's actually not enough to take out his Stargazer Magician. So now it starts to get a little bit scary because he brings out his ace monster, RedEyes Pendulum Dragon. I mean, that, to be fair, that's actually even better animation there. So he brings it out, and the thing about RedEyes Pendulum Dragon is if it deals damage to a monster, your battle damage is doubled. So this goes from what would have been 1,000 to 2,000 points of damage, which is quite devastating, to be honest. So his Mirror Wall was well used there. And now my RedEyes Black Dragon, fortunately that 2,400 attack is not all that impressive, and he goes down quite easily, but because I was able to get my gear freed back onto the field when my Slash Dragon died, I can still use Return of the RedEyes, which will be crucial. So I can use that to bring back my monsters from my graveyard, but at this point I use RedEyes Insight to get another RedEyes fusion. Use it to fuse once again the very same monster, RedEyes Slash Dragon. So that's why I've got 2 of them in the extra deck, by the way. It does actually come in handy. Plus, oh nope, sorry, no, I am done. I forget, because of RedEyes fusion, you can't do any more summons after that, so that is my turn done. And it didn't make sense to attack, because otherwise I would have lost half my attack points. But now I bring in RedEyes Black Dragon once again. Admittedly, that one I think was a little bit of a blunder. I think at this stage it would have made more sense to put it in defense position, but I am also able to bring back my original RedEyes Slash Dragon, so I've got 2 RedEyes Slash Dragons on the field now, and this is where I was feeling a little bit safer. So I go after his Pendulum Dragon, his Arc Pendulum Dragon, give myself a little bit of an attack boost, go in, and then I take out his Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. But as I stated at the beginning, they won't be gone for long because I've left his pendulum scales intact, so he can just bring them back in the next turn, and I do believe he does that. Carves the Arc of Victory and brings back Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, so we get to see that come back right now. But it's not really a major threat. To be honest, we've still got so much more attack power than he does at this point. He also brings in Kaleidoscope, takes out the RedEyes Black Dragon, the one that I probably should have put in defense position because I don't see why I gave him the opportunity. Does double damage, but that just turns it from 100 to 200. And then I bring back RedEyes Black Dragon again, but it's in less danger this time, as I know that it's not going to be on the field for too long during my turn. So now I will actually, I believe, XC summon our good old friend, the secret weapon, Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation, which can destroy any card on my opponent's side of the field. So I take out his Pendulum Scale so he can't bring anything back, or bring anything new in as well, because I don't know what's lurking in his hand. And I bring in RedEyes Black Dragon. Again, that thing just won't stay dead. Destroy his Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon for good. Take out his Kaleidoscope with my RedEyes Black Dragon. Can't attack with my XCs because the effect means he can't attack this turn, unfortunately. And he gives up because he's out of options. So, once again, RedEyes triumphs on this one. RedEyes beats Odd Eyes, it would seem. So that was an overview of my RedEyes Black Dragon deck in Duel Links. By no means an ultra competitive deck, but I think if, like me, you're nostalgic for the original anime, the original cards, it's a lot of fun. It's the underdog of the trio, but as you see here, whereas Blue Eyes has power, Red Eyes has potential. I'm no expert, by the way, so I'm really just building this for fun and sharing this for fun. Maybe you can create something similar. There's a lot of synergy here, a lot of different options. As always, people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.